Welcome to the Balsillie School of International Affairs. My name's Jonathan Crush. I'm chairing this webinar, which is hosted by the MyFood Network in collaboration with the International Migration Research Center, the International Institute for Migration and Development, and the Migration, Mobilities, and Social Politics Research Cluster at the Balsillie School. It's customary for us, since we're at the school, to begin with a land acknowledgement. And we'd like to acknowledge that the school, Balsillie School, is located on the shared traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. The colonial Haldimand Proclamation of 1784 describes this territory as 6 miles deep each side of the Grand River, an area that includes the school. Despite being the largest reserve demographically in Canada, these nations now reside on less than 5% of their original territory. Just a little bit of background in terms of this webinar. It's the 20th webinar in a series hosted by the MyFood Network, which is examining various topics about migration and food security. And through these webinars, we are building a community with various stakeholders for knowledge sharing, deepening understanding of these complex interactions between migration and food security, and facilitating the discussion of effective policy interventions. Today's webinar is entitled The Kerala Model of Migration Surveys, 1998 to 2023. Let's say something quickly about this really innovative series of surveys. They have emerged as an instrumental tool in shaping policies and programs within the government of Kerala in India since their inception in 1998. Over the years, the surveys have influenced government decisions, but have also left a visible mark on the social fabric of Kerala. Migration to Kerala, impact thereof has been profound, leading to various initiatives within the state. These surveys are conducted every 5 years and have been since 1998. And they provide tangible evidence of the impact of migration on development in Kerala. And this Kerala model of migration surveys has been replicated in other Indian states as a guiding framework for understanding migration dynamics. I just have to say that this is a series of surveys which are unique in my experience internationally. But really, given the paucity of data which exists in this area, this could be a model that could be expanded regionally and also globally. So therefore, really delighted to welcome our guest today, Dr. Irudaya Rajan, who has been involved in these surveys right from the beginning and continues to be so to the present. So can really give us an insider look at the development of these surveys and also the most recent survey conducted in 2023. Prof. Rajan is chair of the International Institute of Migration and Development in Kerala and former professor at the Center for Development Studies in Kerala. He's also chair of the World Bank's NOMAD Working Group on International Migration and Urbanization. He is a prolific scholar. He's published in a large number of books, journal articles, and book chapters on various migration topics. He is really the India's, if not a global, migration guru. Now, since 2010, he's been editor of the annual India Migration Report and in recent years, the South Asia Migration Report. He's also the founding editor-in-chief and current editor of the journal Migration and Development, highly influential publication, which is now being published by Sage. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Professor Rajan to talk about the Kerala model of migration surveys. Please, as Prof. Rajan is speaking, pose any questions in the Q&A or the chat that occur to you so that I can pose these at the end of the presentation. All right, so over to you, Rajan. Thanks very much for coming here and a warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, for the invitation and also being part of this session. And as you rightly said, this Kerala model of migration surveys started, what we call them, close to 25 years back. We are celebrating the silver jubilee of this migration survey in Kerala. And this is the 9th round of the KMS in Kerala. But Kerala model of migration surveys also being replicated in several states in India right now. We have done in Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Punjab, Goa, and recently in Jharkhand and Odisha. So we were expanded this model to 7 states, and there is a proposal to do this survey in both Telangana and Bihar in the coming years. I think we are really expanding this model to provide several variables on migration, both internal and international migration, for policy making in the respective states. Are you able to see my screen moving?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. So this is the 9th round, and the KMS 2003 project has been implemented in 3 phases. We did this survey. And this survey was fully funded by the government of Kerala. I think that's something very, very important when we have problem in getting research grant to do migration research in, like country like India. The Kerala government has fully funded this particular survey. And this survey had 3 phases. I'm going to give you some findings from the phase 2 today. It was started in 1st May 2023, and we have completed everything going on right now. But the survey of the phase 2 was completed in October, December 2023, because this is called KMS 2023. And as already informed by Jonathan, this survey started in 1998, almost 25 years back, with just started 10,000 household survey. And this was the first time, probably globally, there was a migration survey happening on 10,000 households, which provide a reliable and reasonable estimate of international migration from Kerala to other part of the world, and also to within the state, and also given the estimate of remittances to Kerala first time. There was no data available on remittances, and we were provided in 1998. And we never thought we will run this survey every 5 years. It was not in our agenda when we initiated the first round. Because of its influence in the Kerala policy making in 1998, with Kerala government opening up a new department of non-resident Keralite affairs, we were interested to continue this survey, but we got funding from up and down. We started in 98, and we had planned to do every 5 years. But then there are demand, sometime by the government and other agencies, to run this survey. So you can see that we have done one in 2007, not the between 3 and 8. And then we did in 11, 13, which was not 11, not in our period. That is the time we had this, what is called the global crisis affecting the whole migration. We did the survey. After the global crisis, what happened? Again, we did the survey in 2016, which was not part of our regular survey, which was funded by the World Bank. And then, of course, 18, we had this survey, and 23 was the just completed survey, which I'm going to give you some results. As I told you, the survey had 3 phases. Phase 1 is that we are following what we call the panel data over the last 25 years. This data is not being utilized by many researchers, but some of the researchers are using this. And there are PhD theses now being written in some of the universities, both in India and abroad, using this panel survey data. Recently, there was a paper published using the panel survey data on Journal of Ethnic and Migration Studies, a special issue on returned migrants. So you can see that people are not able to, to look at the data because it is too much data covering 25 years. And some of you are attending would like to look at this type of data. You can look at it. We had 11 panel encompassing the last 20 years. I'm not going to talk about this because this data is being finalized for people to look at it. And the data also will be available in the public domain very soon for people to look at it globally. The second phase is we are going to give some presentation or some result for all of you. But currently the phase 3 is running. Phase 3 has several modules: returned migrant module, women left behind, children left behind, and the elderly left behind. We call them left behind studies. Then Kerala had a massive floods in 2018. So we have a module on climate change. And now that Kerala is emerged as one of the states with high student migration coming to many parts of the world, including Canada. So we have a special module to study them. And then there is a module on recruitment cost to understand the sustainable development goals. And then we have funding received from the My Food to look at a migration food insecurity based on the 2023 survey, KMS. So we are visiting the returned migrant household for this particular survey, which was funded by My Food. And then we are also doing a small study on migration and health. These are all phase 3. We call them special studies. This is once we complete the 20,000 household survey, we go to this household again to pick up new information which we were not collected in the first round of the phase 2. Now phase 2, this is the phase 2, the survey sample size. This is the first time we have increased the sample to 20,000 households. It's a massive operations. And when you look at the 20,000 household done in Kerala, this is the biggest survey in Kerala since that Kerala became an independent state in 1956. So you can imagine how this survey is going to have a major role, because we call this as a migration survey, but basically it's a socio-economic survey of the state. You can estimate poverty, you can estimate assets holding, you can estimate education, you can do several things with this data. We have only a 2-page module to the household which has currently have migration, but we want to emphasize migration. That's why we call them Kerala Migration Survey. Basically, it's a socio-economic survey. You can study what happened to Kerala over the last 25 years. I think this is very important. So we have done this 20,000 household survey. But because of the huge migration happening in Kerala, hundreds of households have been locked in Kerala. So to select a 20,000 household, we have to visit at least another 5,000 households to get these 20,000 households, because households are being locked. This is a new phenomena which is happening in Kerala, and government also don't know what's happening, because the children who move to country like US, UK, Canada, they pick up their parents back to these countries, especially the high-skilled migrant, and the houses are locked and the grandparents are not leaving. And when the grandparents or the older people die, these people go and sell those houses and bring the money back to Canada, Australia, UK. But there is a window period, the houses are locked in Kerala. So that has also a lot of implication for the Kerala housing both crisis and also the housing situation in Kerala. This survey objective is very simple. The study presents estimates of international migration and also out migrants within India and remittances to the socio-economic and health status of the sample household. We are also comparing this data from the earlier rounds to understand what is happening on migration over the last 25 years. And because we do this big survey, like 20,000 households, the biggest survey conducted in Kerala, many people always question us, saying that, is your sample is representative to the Kerala? Because you are doing 20,000 households and estimating migrants for Kerala. You are estimating remittances to Kerala. You are doing so many indicators. We have generated 100 plus indicators for Kerala. How reliable your estimates? That's why we given the quality check. You can look at it. For example, the average household size given by the census in 2011, 15 years back was 4.3. Our data indicate 3.7. You can see the declining of the household size being replicated in our KMS. And Kerala, 25% household is headed by women. In 2011 census, you can see our survey indicate 24.1. So some of the quality check we want to tell them so that nobody question our estimates. This is very important because somebody started questioning your sample frame and other things, then we are in trouble. So we always want to have this, stratified random sampling as much as possible. Of course, we had no census after 2011. So we are using the 2011 sample frame to do whatever we can do that. And coming back to the estimates for the 2023, because how we estimate migration is being explained in several studies, several our articles in the last 25 years. And we also wrote a book on this estimating migration. This is called Researching International Migration, was published by Routledge when Zakaria was completing in 98th year. So it is published 10 years back. It has already gone 2 to 3 reprints. And so I'm not going to tell you how we estimated migration, but our migration estimates right now is 2.1 million Keralites who are supposed to be in the labor market in Kerala. They are outside anywhere in the world. 1 out of 5 households in Kerala have currently migrant. And top country is United Arab Emirates. In fact, we have only 3 flights from Trivandrum to Delhi every day, direct flight. But we have close to 20 flights to United Arab Emirates. So you can imagine how Kerala is connected to Gulf compared to Kerala is not really connected within the country in terms of airport infrastructure. When we talk about migration infrastructure, people talk about recruitment, agent and related issue. I want to discuss on this, particularly on the airport infrastructure. Most of the male migrants going to Gulf, you can see 85.4, and only 34.7% of them are graduates. But when you talk about non-GCC countries, 40% of them are women, and graduates are 71.5. Women migrants are less going to Gulf, but they are going more to outside, but they are highly qualified. Major occupation of female migrants are nurses throughout India, of course, not just India, globally, you can see the Kerala nurses and engineers coming up. And you can also see that compared to their population, Hindus, Christians, and Muslims population in Kerala is only 30%, but they are holding 40% of the immigration structure. You can look at it. They have more immigrants compared to their population size in Kerala. And the new trend, we have a chapter this time on student migration. Our estimated migration is 2.5 lakhs. And top destination is UK, Canada, Australia, and some of the European countries like Poland, Germany, Netherlands are picking up. And then, of course, some people you go and study in the CGC countries because their parents are there. 1 out of 4 students went to UK. And among the students, you get almost equal number of male and females, not like the labor migrants. I think this is a new trend which is picking up. You may see a lot of girl students coming independently to study in Canada, which you can see that. And Kerala spends 43,000 crores every year to send their children. That means the money is coming from Kerala to UK, Kerala to Canada in terms of student fees. Our estimate is 43,000 crores. But we are not estimated how much money comes from Kerala directly to Canada for student fees in several universities in Kerala, in Canada, and how much they are supporting other costs like housing and other things, how much money Indians spend to educate themselves, of course, and then they get into labor market in Canada, and then they become PR. These are the process happening, but initially they invest a lot of money to these countries in terms of education. And this is return migrants, very, very important, because return migrants policy is now running only in Kerala. Now the Indian government is talking about return migration rehabilitation policy, because we have this data for last 25 years. We had special study done during the global crisis. We have done special study after the COVID-19. So we were doing several studies on return migrants. I think our study on return migrants and food insecurity also will add value on the food related issue, because India is talking about one country and one ration card within the country. So the study which we are planning with the My Food funding will have a implication for the policy both within the country and outside the country. And we also want to take up probably, with My Food in the coming month to talk about the food inflation in India, which is going to be a very important topic. I think My Food probably will look at it to work with My Food to take up a new study on food inflation. If you look at it, return migrants, almost like the immigrants, 1 out of 5, most of them coming from the GCC countries. If they come to Canada, they may not return back. Then they will be staying here. And when they go to Gulf, the distress return is coming up. I think this is very important. One has to look at the distress return migration policies. And we also located in the last study when we did on the COVID-19, after COVID-19, there's a new group called return to remigrate. This is a new term we are coining. People return, they will remigrate. We are preparing a new concept note on this particular title called return to remigrate. We will be developing it in the coming days on a new concept called return to remigrate. And then policies for that. We have some data on out migrants, and I'm going to skip that because it's on internal migrants. So we have a lot of numbers on out migrants, which I'm not going to discuss, and also return out migrants due to the time. But I'll get into the implication on international migration to Kerala. That is reflected in remittances. Whatever money comes to India, 20% of the money comes to Kerala. You can imagine, we are talking about $110 billion coming to India as per the World Bank remittances estimates. And we are providing a new estimate that out of that, 20% comes to Kerala. And that means this money was earned outside of in Kerala, but coming into the Kerala economy. Of course, out of that, 20% goes back to many developed countries, not the developing countries like UK, Canada, Australia, in terms of student fees. And remittances is equivalent to the state income, 23%. That means 23% equivalent of state income is generated outside the state, coming into Kerala and creating the local economy, and its impact on society is very, very important. That requires a big studies on that. And also, for example, how the remittances is spent on food. That should be a study on that, because the food basket in Kerala is changing between migrant and non-migrant household. How much the migrant household spend on food and what item, these are the new type of studies we should think, working with the My Food project for the next few years. Use of remittances, you can see that right now, everybody investing in housing and then paying up loans, which they collect for housing again, and putting the recruitment cost, sending children to higher education. And you can see that 10% of the remittances is spent for higher education. You can imagine that some of them coming to other countries, and people have the 10% they keep as a cash in hand. And I just want to give you a table which I was always fascinated, how important the migration is for Kerala. This is a assets, or what we call them, consumer durables. You can look at it. Household, a very big house or a luxurious house. Migrant household having 80% of their household are luxurious house compared to the non-migrant household. Car, 40% immigrant household having car, much bigger car. You can look at the car, the household has a migrant. It's not a normal car. It will be a costly new car coming into India. And you can see the two-wheelers, you can mobile smart, AC. AC is not common still in Kerala, but you look at the 21% of the household which has immigrant have AC. And then, of course, LPG is almost every house. And for electrification is every house. We don't need migration. But look at it. We have put one more data for you. I just want to compare how the economy or the asset holding changing between 1998 and 2023. How the Kerala was in 25 years back. Look at that. Kerala household has all household together. I have not put the immigrant household here. Just to give how the KMS is capturing the situation of Kerala. Only 3% household had car in Kerala in 1998. Only 3%. Out of 100 houses, only 3 households had a car. 25 years from now, you can see 28% of the household had a car. Of course, there will be more people having with migrant, but you can imagine, we are talking about average. In 1998, only 9% had motorbike. Only 10% household in Kerala had motorbike. Now you can see 56% of the household have motorbike. Of course, there was no mobile phone in 1998. Some of you know that we had only telephone at home. Only 15% household had telephone in 1998. Of course, now people don't have telephone. Everybody has a mobile, 3 mobile, 4 mobile. The family, there are 5 people, there are 6 mobiles. But earlier, only one phone at home. Everybody has to use the number. Now, mobile phone was not there in 1998. And you can see now 88% of the household had at least one mobile phone. I'm not talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. And then computer, laptop. It was almost like nil there. Household having laptop. Now you can talk about household having Wi-Fi. You can imagine how the whole economy is changing. Of course, for that, migration is one of the engine of the growth. And you look at the television, the big, if you go to the migrant household, you see that, the TV will be very big. You can see that 37% household had TV that time, all black and white, not even color TV in 1998. Now you see the big, and then the big houses, luxurious houses are only 1% in Kerala, now 23%. And in 1998, people who are using LPG for cooking, only 20%. Now you can imagine 93% of the household in Kerala have LPG. I think this is all to indicate you how important this survey is, capturing what is happening in Kerala. I'm just going to end my presentation with some policy implications. Of course, now we are talking about safe migration for the students, because many students coming to many countries, they were in trouble. They are not getting proper education. They go to some type of fake colleges in many countries, and then they are in trouble, and they were even starving during COVID-19. We are looking at now student migrants and food security. We are looking at it now. Maybe we'll do a special study again for my food on the student migrants, food security, during COVID, who are staying in those countries, and now how they are managing. Because whenever I talk to students, they say that the much cost in Canada, Australia, UK, the much cost is because they are paying their student fees when they are coming here. The cost here is housing and food. That's why there is a crowded housing in many countries. So that's why they know this is very important. We should look at that. And then the food, because they have to cut down the food because they have no money. So they are not getting a proper job. Maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, they are getting some job. How important the jobs are available there. Because now they say that even migrant students, they want to get some work, they are not getting. I think we should do a good study on comparing how the migrants in Canada For example, how the Canadian government looking at the migrants, because the current migrants are the future laborers of the Canadian government. So how they are looking at it, I think these are the studies we should look at it. And monitoring the language training centers, very important, and recruitment agencies, and develop new policies for international students to return home, because return migration among students is not coming up. So I was talking to the Indian government, we should have a special policies like China is having, return back. Not necessarily all the people who come from India to Canada should stay in Canada. 10-20% can go back. There are opening up. They can come back, what they learned in Canada. They can, practice in India, and they can develop the combined project, joint project. They can work with the Canadian researcher, Canadian medical professional. I think those type of things we should think of your policies on bringing the skilled migrants back. It's like what is called the brain gain. We are getting the brain back. And then, of course, additional skills we should talk about for re-migrating some of the migrants who want to talk about that. And then MOUs, because we are all now talking about agreement between India and Canada, India and US. Recently the Prime Minister of India went to Poland and they are signing MOU on skills. I think this is very important. We should also do some studies on that. And my last slide is that we are running this survey now every 5 years. But there is a demand from the government and other people. You do an annual migration survey with 5,000 households, because migration is changing. So can you do some type of tracking the key indicators in terms of graduates, poverty, housing? I think, there is a proposal now being rotated in Kerala. And one of the bank in Kerala is likely to support this annual migration survey of 5,000 households. So even we are thinking, we got surveyed 20,000 households in 2023. So we can visit 1/4 in 2024, 1/4 in 2025, 1/4 in 2026, 1/4 in 2027. Then we will back to our, what is called the celebrated 5-year survey in 2028. So I think this idea, I'm talking to people, I'm talking to even diasporas to support. It's not a very big money, but still, the migration surveys, people, what I get. If I talk to a big diaspora man, he said, I can fund your survey, what I get. If I give that money to the election fund in Kerala, I may get, if the government come back to power, I can get something. Because, the elections are being funded by the diaspora in many countries, because we get a lot of money from Canada and Australia and UK, US. When the election is happening in our country, people are putting a lot of money to the political parties, but they are not giving money to the migration centers like this. So I think this is something I'm talking to diasporas in Canada also. I am going to meet some people even today evening. If somebody can get the idea and support migration research, migration scholars, or supporting a postdoctoral fellowships like a diaspora fellowship funded by the diasporas from Canada. I think these are all very, very important. We have to use diasporas, because my estimate says Kerala has 5 million diasporas globally now. Out of the 20 million diaspora, India is claiming. That means 1 out of the 4 diaspora is from Kerala. Maybe second, maybe Punjab, or Punjab maybe first. We don't know, because we have not estimated how many Punjabis are diasporas, but we have estimated some idea from the Kerala. And then we are also talking about Migration Development Bank we are discussing right now with some people, because money is coming in, but this money can be used for developing the Kerala much more better. Now you have a lot of climate change. That Kerala had floods recently. Kerala had a landslide in Wayanad recently. So I think these are the way we can develop the Kerala much more with the remittances, with the organized, some development. I'll stop here again. I think thank you very much, Jonathan, for giving an opportunity to speak on the, one of my, brain child, the Kerala Migration Survey, which started up 25 years back. And thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rajan. It's a really good update and fascinating. Please, just the participants, if you do have any comments or questions, then you can just post them in the chat or the Q&A, and I'll relay them to Prof. But let me start with the this question. It's more a methodological one. Let me start with an anecdote, actually. I remember a few years ago in South Africa, we wanted to do a survey of South African attitudes towards emigration and also immigrants as well. And we had, in terms of our funding, and our stats people said, a sample size of 2,500 would be sufficient to capture the whole South African population. So we did this, and then we presented it to government, and someone in the Department of Home Affairs who attended this seminar said that our findings were completely erroneous. And then we asked why, and he said, well, you only interviewed 2,500, but there are 50 million people in the country. So in order to get a good picture, you need to interview all 50 million. That's the response, right? So I'm just struck by the size, your sample sizes for your Kerala survey. I mean, they've ranged between 10,000 and 30,000 for the main survey. Do you think that, this is the question, I mean, do you think that it was necessary to have a sample sizes that large? Or put another way, what is it that sample sizes that large give you that, say, a smaller sample, you're talking about 5,000 for an annual survey, would miss?
No, I think, Jonathan, this is a very important question. Even people ask me, because now I'm proposing a survey in Telangana. I told the government we need 15,000 household survey. Then they, of course, like you asked me, because in Punjab we did 10,000, in Tamil Nadu we did 25,000, and in Jharkhand we did 10,000, in Odisha we did 15,000. So I think one of the reasons, because this was the brain of Zakaria, who was with the World Bank. And one of the things he was telling me, why need a larger sample to estimate migration? I think this is the basic, because if you are estimating, say, for example, household assets, if you are estimating how many households living below poverty line, for example, probably you don't need this much sample, Jonathan. But when you want to talk about migration, because migration still a rare even in people's life. Like I said, even in Kerala, with heavy migration, it's like migration is so heavy, but still you look at our data, 1 out of 5 households have migrant. Only 1 out of 5. So can you imagine that? Now that is where we are talking about the sample size. I think when we started in 1998, I was with Zakaria, of course, I was 25 years younger. He was just 75 at the time. The number was the magic 10,000 in 1990 was given by him. He said, let us start with 10,000, because we had no money at that time, more than 10,000, because migration survey in 1998 in India was something unheard of, because everybody talking about fertility. So many people are having more children, So I think the 10,000 that is the reason we have put the higher sample size for estimating migration and remittances and related the migration estimates. That's why I said our migration estimates still not being questioned by even the migrants who are living in the Gulf. They say, your number looks good for us. That type of, we are able to build the whole story over the last 25 years. The second point, why we were increasing in Kerala. I think that's also very important. Why you are not keeping 10,000. The problem is, I told you in the beginning, our data, migration data is being used by several people at the local level. So we have Kerala, we have 14 districts, and we have 74 taluks, like maybe what you call in Canada, I don't know. Now, because of the demand, they were asking us to give the estimate at the local level. Now, for example, this time, we give an estimate at the taluk level, 72 taluks we have in Kerala. We have estimated, because one MLA is asking me, one MP is asking me, can you give me in my constituency, what is the migration trend? Because I want to talk about that in my constitution, like the political parties. So then you need a larger sample. That's why we increased the sample to 20,000. And also migration is coming down. When the migration is declining, you have to increase the sample, like maternal mortality. Suppose I'm studying maternal mortality in India, it is coming down. So I have to study The woman has to be married, she has to be pregnant, and she has to deliver the baby, she has to die. Then only I can study maternal mortality. That means I need a larger sample. That's why we are expanding the survey 20,000 for estimate. But the annual survey, we are not going to estimate migration. We will just to give you some type of your basic data to keep the Kerala government alive on migration studies and the policy making.
Okay, thanks. That's interesting. I mean, I understand now it's a household survey which picks up migrants rather than a survey of 20,000 migrant households.
That's right.
That's the key thing. Okay.
And I have a question. Yeah, I have a question from Margaret regarding student migration. And yes. I think let me answer. That's a very important question now. Not just for Kerala, it's also for Canada, for example. You know, the housing crisis, stopping temporary migration, students on strike, students living in crowded housing. You know, all those stories are coming up. And, you know, of course, I did a India migration report 2023 was on student migration. And it was fully open access now because somebody could fund that book. So we have fully open access and people can look at it. And instead, that book, somebody was writing from Canada. One student from India is committing suicide every week in Canada. So this is very, very important for Canadian scholars to look at it, how the students are being running here, especially on mental health. Yeah, they are lonely, they are young, and they have difficulty. They want to send back money home. They are not getting enough work, you know, and then they're not able to study, you know, all those things, I think, and they are coming first time out of the house. They may be the only child, you know, all those things. I think that, you know, the universities in all countries need something to look at it. But the student migration in Kerala is going to be a very big topic now coming up. It's not like now, no longer we don't talk about nurse migration, for example, in Kerala. It has been studied much, but student migration is happening. What is happening is that now there is a growing middle class in Kerala. If you look at that, I put one last table data on household with a car. So the growing middle class, I mean that household with just 2 children. If you visit, 30% of the household have just one child in Kerala. For them, they are ready to invest so much money. $30,000 to Canada, no problem. 30,000, 50,000. And the Indian banks are offering loans for the students, for education loans. It's a big group of people now investing. So I think these two are happening. That is one reason people are leaving. And also many students, for example, Kerala people used to go and study outside. In fact, I was telling you a new theory of migration. Earlier, Keralites will study in Kerala and then work outside. That was the first stage of the theory. Second stage, they go and study outside Kerala and then they migrate. Now they go and study outside India and then go to another country to work, another country to marry, another country to settle down, and another country to die. They never come to Kerala. Just to leave when they are 18, that's the end of it. So it's a new form of people going, and I told you a lot of money is invested by the people, and also students. I think it's true for not just the Indian students, both Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, South and Southeast Asia students. Many of the families, they are investing this money for students, thinking that my son will get a PR after 5 years, 10 years. It's like a big investment they are making, because I met a lady in Punjab. She said, I spent millions of rupees to get my son admitted in a college. Now my life is safe. Not for ourselves, for next generations. I think that type of investment in education is coming in a big way. And Kerala had problem because when our study was released on migration, the whole government, the opposition party, went out of the assembly saying that a lot of students are leaving as per the Kerala migration survey because of the government failure in providing good education in Kerala. So there was a walkout based on the study in Kerala assembly. So you can imagine that student migration is going to be a hot topic. I think at least for I see next 10 years. That's why I told in the presentation we should look at the student migrant and food insecurity or food security, because they have to earn money to eat here, because the parents paid money to come here. When they come here, they have to are they able to make enough money to eat well? Are they eating 3 meals? Are they skipping meals? These are the issues we should look at it, because skipping meals they may come to the class without breakfast. You may not even notice them. they may have only one lunch. I think these are the issues we should look at it, because it's helping their nutrition, it's helping their health, and they have other related health issues because of the food deficiency or food insecurity in countries of destination like Canada.
I'll just follow up on that. I mean, is there any evidence of student movement to the Gulf states for educational purposes, or is that not happening?
It's happening. It's basically a second generation of migrants is happening, because they were, most of them, because I went to Dubai a year back to give a talk in a university. 38% of the students there were from Kerala. I said, were you born in Kerala? They said, no. So we are born in Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain. So we have a lot of second generation migrants who are, parents went to Gulf. The children were born there because they don't get the passport of the Gulf. They have to get the Indian passport, not like in Canada. The child is born to a Indian couple, they'll get a Canadian passport, which is not in Gulf. So they have to get the Indian passport, and that people are going back to Gulf. That is increasing interest in, basically in Dubai is emerging as an education city. Some people are going, but there's a new trend. India is opening up for the higher education coming to India. For example, I think Waterloo, I don't know. For example, London School of Economics, they are going to open a branch in Delhi. So I think Jonathan should think about your university having a wing there, so that people don't need to come and get a degree from University of Waterloo. They can get a University of Waterloo degree in Kerala. So I think this is going to be a next trend. If that trend is going to pick up, because the new government is talking about education is allowed to come. We have a new education policy. I think you should look at it. And many universities are going to come to India right now. So I don't know how many universities from Canada coming to India. I have not looked at it, because that is, I think I should look at the new studies. If they are going to come, why should somebody to come and get a degree from University of Oxford? The Oxford is going to come to India. I don't need to go. Sorry, I don't want to come to Oxford. I'll come sit in Delhi and get a degree of University of Oxford, University of Waterloo, or a TMU. Why should I come to Toronto? I can get a TMU degree in Kerala. So I think this is the new trend which will pick up very soon. Then I don't know what will happen to the student migration. I think this may be the next 5 to 10 years to watch out on the future student migration. And I have another question from the Ching Chiong, and thanks for the interesting. Could you please talk more about how the survey instrument have changed over 25 years? Yes, very good. Return to remigrate. I think this new concept I'm developing. Yes. These survey instruments, this is, I think, very important, because we want to compare some data. I think that's very important. For example, ration card. We have food security, we have a ration. People can go and get a ration rice, with a lower price, which is called the public distribution system. Outside market, maybe 1 kg rice will be, say, $5. And if you go to the ration shop, it will be $2. If you are a poor, you will get for $1. So we have a ration card. So I think certain questions were constant for almost last 25 years. I have not changed that. Then only you can compare how the Kerala is changing. For example, the house, the luxurious house, I have not changed the concept. That's why I can still do the luxurious house between 2% to 28%. I think so many questions were constant, but all the questions are available in the public domain. Because we got some 25 working papers, maybe 6 to 7 books on the KMS itself every round. So I think that if you look at the questionnaire, there are several data is comparable. That means somebody going to study how Kerala changed economically, they can look at the KMS. How Kerala changed educationally, they can look at it. How the Muslims changed their household situations, they can study. I think so. This is some instrument we kept constant, but we add a few instruments on that. And this return to remigrate concept came to me after the COVID crisis, because when we did the COVID, immediately when the people were brought by the Vande Bharat flights from Canada, Australia, we have a special flight brought to people to Kerala and India. Immediately government said, can you take up a study? Then I said, how do I get this return migrant? He said, we have the list. Everybody has to report to the airport. They cannot go without reporting. So we have 16 lakhs people. So I got the data, government data officially. Then I have talked to some 1,000 people. That's the first time we started the telephonic survey. Now, of course, everything we are doing through the CAPI methods, but we go to the house. These 20,000 household, we did face-to-face, not online, face-to-face. We went to the house, but we are using the computer to enter the data, and we have the map, XY coordinates, so that they know that the same house which I tell from Trivandrum, they have gone there or not. I can even check the data. Or they went to somebody's house and collecting data. Suppose I ask them to go to Jonathan's house. They may go to, next house is maybe Maria, they may go there. No, you went to the wrong house. I can even locate it sitting in Kerala because they have the XY coordinates, the geographical coordinate. So I think the return to remigrate came in when I talked to many people during the return of the COVID. They said, sir, we invested a lot of money to Gulf, but we could not make money because of the COVID. It's like an uninterrupted return or the distress return. So we are planning to go back. So he told me that all the policies in Kerala about return migrant rehabilitation, return migrant adjustment, but they are not talking to us. Suppose we want to remigrate. Do you have any policies? He asked me. That is where I told the Kerala government, they are now talking about return to remigrate policies in terms of giving them new skills so that they can remigrate. I think there's something happening right now. I hope this policy will be part of our impact on the policies in Kerala right now. I think that is something very, very, we are very pleased that we are able to, be with the policy makers. For example, the Kerala Migration Survey report was released by the Kerala Chief Minister. He said, I want to release the report because I fund the study. So he said, I want to release. So there was a occasion, all the MLAs were there. He said, then it was released. I given a copy to him. And he spoke about the findings from the KMS. I didn't speak because he said, I will give important finding because, that is the thing we have made Kerala, very important. The KMS has changed the policy structure of Kerala. And now many states are coming and learning from the Kerala government experience in handling migration even during COVID-19.
Thanks. There's a couple of other questions here, just so everyone knows what's being asked. We're back to students. A question from Mercedes. Have you asked about motivations for leaving among students? Are there gender differences? And she's also wondering about the difference between the individual student having aspirations rather than what the family or the parents are thinking about.
In our main survey, we don't ask anything. Only we get the household. The student is away. He's in Canada. We have that database. I said in my presentation that 46% of the students who are leaving Kerala are female compared to 53, which is not true with the labor migration. But now we are doing a special study on visiting all those households reported a migrant. This is special studies happening in the phase 3. But I was talking with the Kerala State Higher Education Council. Would you like to fund this study? They told me that we have no money. If you do the study, we will use it for policy making. This is the reality for funding research even in Kerala on higher education. So, but we are doing it with our interest with Iman. And there we are also going to the families. Why you decided to send your son to, say, America, not to Canada? Why you decided to prefer to Australia? I think there is a family decision is coming up. We want to place one son in UK, one son in US. Something happens in USA, we'll go to UK. I think how the children are being distributed across nations. Because I went to some house, I was surprised. They got 3 sons. I said, where are they? He said, one son is in Canada, one son is in Australia, one son is US. See, very strategy. They didn't put all the children there. It's like when you have money, you're investing your money on one of the companies, you don't know. The company goes last, everything goes. So they are always, because it's all this migration is based on the migration policies in those countries. In US, for example, earlier President was talking about America first. That means there will be a barrier to migration. So I think people are investing on that. We have a special study going on. That report will be available maybe another 3-4 months from now. We're also talking to the decisions. Who makes the decision to go to this particular country? And even particular course. We're asking, why you are joining this course? Of course, we did a 3-year study funded by the what is called the SSHRC, Social Sciences Research Council grant with the TMU on student migration. And we talked to several recruitment agencies. Of course, most of them are fraud. They manipulate the students. And some of them are very genuine, agents. Like everywhere, you have genuine agents, non-genuine agents, genuine universities, genuine colleges. Everywhere there's a genuine and non-genuine. But these agents are manipulating. Because the agent, when I talk to them, for agent, Canada means only Toronto. I told him that there are hundreds of cities in Canada. We were only Toronto. For him, Toronto, Paris, London. And what is this? So they are manipulating where the students are going. I think this is something we have to, really looking at it. We have done a study on that. We are writing it up, and something findings are available in the India migration report focused on student migration, which is available for the public domain.
Okay, that's fascinating. We're almost out of time. I'm just going to ask one final question to kind of bring this topic back to the focus of these webinars on migration and food security. Now, I know that we're going to do a special survey of households and with food security questions. But I was struck by the one table that you put up on the use of remittances, because if you ask this kind of question in many African countries, top of the list is food and food purchase, whereas I didn't see it at all in terms of the main uses anyway that you designated. I wonder if you just comment on that.
It's very good. I think I should have put the 1998 table to you. So 98 table, when we did the first survey in 1998, 80% went for day-to-day and food. Now the Kerala has changed, because now for food, they have money right now. So now they are talking about investment. So I think it is like 25 years of the migration story when you look at it. And when we did a survey last year in Odisha, 80% went spent on food, which I saw in Kerala in 1998. So I think when duration of migration is happening, that's where you have to link the duration of migration. How long you are migrant? Now Kerala has a migration history of almost 50 years. 1970s migration started picking up to Gulf, even through undocumented route. They used to go through the ship and other thing in 1970s. Now you look at, we are in 2020. So you have 15 years of the migration story. What happened? Now that they don't think people are going to Gulf to make money for food? No. You see, this was in 1988. So I think this is very important. This is very important point you asked. That's why I said we should look at the food inflation in a different module on consumption expenditure. How, for example, the money spent on, say, for example, milk in Kerala might be tripled. Milk and this meat consumption, and also, like, we are looking at some data on overweight, underweight. Overweight probably is coming in a big way among children, because you are only one daughter, one son. And then what happened? You are feeding them. For example, now Kerala is talking about aged menarche is coming down for the girls. They are talking about 11.5 years. It used to be 13 years in Kerala. Can you imagine the nutrition, the food prospect? That's why I said for the next 5 years with the My Food, we should pick up those ideas and produce even one working paper. It would be very fascinating for some studies on this food security and migration without migrants, how the food baskets are changing. Like, for example, yesterday I was here and somebody said there's a dosa garner. Dosa garner is, you get the same dosa which I eat in Kerala. And somebody told me that there's a Malayali house, food. Like that, things are changing, the food habits. And food, I think this is completely changing. And Kerala also getting a lot of migrants from other states to Kerala, because Kerala people are going to Gulf. So we need migrants. So we are talking a new concept called replacement migration. That's a new concept we are developing again. Because the Kerala electricians in Dubai, we are getting electrician from Odisha. So you see that thing, because this electrician goes more because he get more money. So I think the new concept also being developed now based on the KMS experience of 25 years will have long-lasting implications on the migration research globally.
Great. Okay. Thanks so much. I mean, this is an amazing project that you've been involved in for all of these years. And I think, the kind of data that you've collected will be extremely helpful and useful to the next generation and the generation after that of migration and food security scholars. Thanks so much for coming here to the school. It's great to see you again, and thank you to everybody for attending this particular webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.